I don't cook, I don't clean, but let me tell you, I got this ring.
What does it mean to you to be a wife and also a sexual being?
I'm a partner. I don't refer to myself as a wife anymore. So to be in partnership and to be a sexual being. So I'm on a sexual healing journey right now. Like, I'm a person who has survived several sexual assaults, though at the time I didn't call them that. So this is one of the reasons why the conversation around consent is so important to me. And it wasn't until I found myself in a long-term relationship where I felt safe and respected and secure, and like where consensual sex was like a real thing that like I'm not just thinking that's happening, but is actually in practice, that my past sexual trauma began to show up in my relationship. And it's like, oh, yeah, that wasn't consensual. My goal is to be this liberated person who leans into her sexuality. That's a part of the healing that I'm working to do right now. And I came into this long-term relationship at the same time that I was coming into my queerness and didn't like call it by name. So like all of these things are happening at the same time. And it can be difficult sometimes, especially for, you know, my partner who is like, you know, like, what do I do? Like, I want to support, I want to help you, I want to hold your hand through this thing, but I don't know what my role is as you go through this healing journey, and what does it look like when you come out on the other end, if there is, you know, another end. So the short answer to your question is, it's hard. The real answer is likely that it's a complicated process that my partner and I are committed to going through together.
What do you think about ideologies rooted in misogyny, of course, in that your actions or your choice of clothes can dictate the respect that you have for yourself or your partner?
I think it's bullshit.
He let you wear that? He gonna let you go out like that? Oh, I would never.
Right. When I hear that, I hear Charlie Brown's, like, all the adults from Charlie Brown. Wow. I honestly, I could give two fucks. This is the crux of a lot of me and my grandma's conversations. I mean, she and I can like laugh about it now. We are in constant opposition about how I present myself.
Really?
And like my choice of clothing, the fact that I don't have no hair. I've been team bald head for like 5 or 6 years now. My partner has all these tattoos. You know, I'd be like, I'll randomly be on the phone with her and be like, free the nipple. And she'd be like, oh my God, I'm so glad that I'm not part of that generation. And blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, child, I'm so glad I'm not part of yours.
Okay.
And we just go back and forth. But I mean, I don't take that shit seriously. Like, I just be like, okay. Like, I can't give it any more energy than I already have. Like, it's not anything that like makes me angry.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay.
How did you come into that? Did you ever battle with that ideology?
I battled with that ideology in my late teens, early 20s.
That's pretty early, like 21 to be like, no. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, the conversation was mostly just happening in my head in response to images that were being poured into me. So when we think about, like, you know, respectability politics, I was like really into church at that time. And the person that actually brought me out of that was my mama. My mother was the first person to encourage me to wear a midriff, like have my stomach out. She was just like, you have the most beautiful body, Amber. Like, show it. I was like 17. Like, who tells her 17-year-old that? Yeah.
They're like, oh, you can't wear this until you get out of a house. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, my mama was the person that told me, though, like, I'm glad that I've grown into like, develop like a nuance around what she said, but I really appreciate the seed that she planted. And so when we would talk about sex and stuff, and this is when I was still a virgin, she was like, well, Amber, you know, if you're gonna be a good hoe, be a good one. I was like, what does that mean, mama? She said, you tell them when, where, and how. I said, okay. Yeah. When, where, and how. She said, you can be like me, you know, before your stepdaddy, I just had collar dicks. I said, you had what? Collar dicks. You know, I got collar dicks. She would tell me about like all the many men in her life who had different purposes. So it was like one dude who she never had sex with, but she knew that whenever she went to go see a movie, he would always like buy her dinner and take her to a movie. Another dude who she had just during the summer. So they were off and on again during the summer. And then there was my daddy who took care of her, you know, throughout the winter and fall months.
It's such a liberating thing though. Like, that be a part of your, you know, your foundation. That's really dope.
Yeah, Nita was cool. Nita was really, and what's so interesting about her is that, you know, this is pre-internet, pre-Google, pre-think pieces.
Yeah.
And so, you know, all of this philosophy around her parenting was just intuitive knowing that she really leaned into. And I'm just so thankful for it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think it's interesting that society at large is so comfortable with telling women how they should be, how they should dress, how they should act, until women be, dress, act however they want to. It's like, I have to give you permission to be sexual, and it be seen as like, oh, okay. But if a woman is to say, if I didn't enjoy myself and the experience that we had, I have no need for you. People are flabbergasted by this. People are like, you're taking women back 100 years. Why? Because I'm owning that if it didn't feel good to me, I have no need for you anymore. Like, not to say that people are disposable, but dick certainly is. So it's like, listen, like, you know, even to say that, I'm sure there are some people who are cringing and some people who are like, you don't respect yourself. But I think a part of owning my sexuality, owning the choices, I think that is respecting myself. Honoring what I feel true to do is respecting myself, not what you think is acceptable. Why are we still having this conversation when, like, put it in my mouth was like jumping back, you know, way back when? In the beginning of that song, you have like the woman singing all these things. She's like, you know, just blowing, like singing beautifully about giving head, right? And so then, you know, the rappers come on talking about how they're degrading women and yada, 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 whatever. Let's reverse it and talk about how I want to do this to you. And Cardi talking about some, when you hit the dangly thing in the back of my throat. And I'm like,
right, yeah,
yes, that did it for me. So I was just like, because it's like, we don't know what that's called, but I know, you know, like, we all know what she's talking about. And it's like, I feel liberated in that, because it's like, yes, it's okay to say that you enjoy different aspects of sex. And people are like, oh.
And that is so interesting to me too, because a part of having a healthy sexual experience is for us to clearly be able to have conversation about what makes us feel good. But you don't want a woman to express what brings her pleasure, and like, I mean, to help you along anyway. Like, this is what I want, but like you said, it's like, it's okay when this is coming from a masculine body, but when a feminine body is articulating to you, like, this is what I want, this is how I like it, this is what I would like to do to you, and really taking control of that experience, all of a sudden it's a problem. All of a sudden it's a problem. It's really, it made me even think about, like, you know, the conversation that we've been having for decades, like around abortion, and how all these men are talking about why it's wrong, but it's like, is it your body though? You're gonna have these medical bills though.
What if men could get pregnant? Do you know how, like, abortions would be, you drive through clinics would be a thing?
Listen,
like, what?
And all of this is around patriarchy, you know, sexism, and the need to continue to control the feminine body.
Do you think that there is a dismantling of this idea or this ideology, or we just as women continue to do the work? Because Foxy Brown did it, Lil' Kim did it. One of my favorite albums ever, Fan Mail. The same album in which you have Unpretty, in which they talk about plastic surgery, eating disorders, body dysmorphia. The same album, you got No Scrubs, and also I'm Good at Being Bad, where she's essentially saying, like, I want the diamonds, the rings, the whatever, but I don't want your love. I want how you can benefit me. Yeah. And I'm listening to this in, like, when did that album come out? Like 98, 99?
I think it was 99, yeah.
Wrote No Scrubs on one of my arts. And I was in the 5th grade. I didn't know what a scrub was, but I knew I didn't want one, okay? In the 5th grade, I understood that, and while I didn't have the language for this, but I understood that there's going to come a time when I'm a woman and I get to choose. Like that's what I came up on. So it's like, you can have these dualities as a woman, like, talk about insecurities. I feel unpretty, but the work is in me learning to love myself. Like, because what does the lyrics say? Like, at the end of the day, I'm just tripping. We can have a conversation in the same album about that, and then also own, like, when I'm not tripping and I am owning myself, I get to choose who I'm with, what I keep, what I get from you, and how I benefit from this. And that was in what, 99? Do you think that we just need to continue to have artists and people just continuing the conversation and continuing to own themselves? Or do you think that there's a way that we as a collective can like shift this so we can stop having the same conversation? Or is this going to be one of those like generational things? It's just going to look differently?
I think similar to what you said about the duality of a woman and how complex we can be, I think that this too is very complex and it's going to take on different iterations. So I think that there's definitely, we can continue to have artists like this, and in me and your lifetime, by the end, we like, you know what, we did that thing, everything is Gucci. But the generations that follow us will likely be able to zoom in on the nuances of how sexism and patriarchy are now showing up that may not be as clear to you or I. And so their fight is going to look different than ours. So I think that there's always going to be a need for us to keep these conversations going, because things are likely going to continue to be more under the radar. We're gonna come up with new language to say the same thing that has the same like sexist, subtext that me and my 80-year-old eyes ain't about to pick up on. And I would like to think that we will reach a point where these conversations are no longer necessary and this shit is just normal. But until, people having full autonomy of their bodies is the standard, and and it's considered normal, and is the way that the majority of us live our lives and get to engage in the world. Yeah, we're going to continue to have this conversation in its many iterations.
I agree with that. What would you have told your past self, knowing what you know now?
I would have told my old self what my mama started off telling me, and that is, listen to your inner voice. Listen to that intuition.
Yeah.
Lean into your feelings. You are not crazy to think that something is wrong here. Like, you are not overreacting. So that is what I would tell my old self.
I think that's a good note to end it on. I really appreciate you for having this conversation.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to get the invitation. You can follow me on Instagram at Amber Burns Jones, one word. Also Amber Burns Jones on Facebook. And if you go to my bio on Instagram, it's a link to my Medium account where you can see some of my writing.
Fabulous. Well, thank you so much. I truly appreciate you. I love this conversation. I think it's one, like you said, we're going to have to keep having, but I loved having it with you. I appreciate you so dearly.
Thank you, love.
Now from the top, make it drop.